Girl, you've learned that people-pleasing doesn't work. You have a purpose, a plan to achieve, and a point time for your passion projects. You finally value your thoughts and ideas. Now you're putting them into action. Mom guilt is in a box where it belongs. You care for those who need you completely, except that you've made yourself a priority too. Being creative and focused helps you get your zest for life. You, my friend, you think enriched. Hey, welcome to Think Enriched. I'm your host, Amy Robles. We've got a great show, a lot of different things to cover. There is so much to learn and determine if you have a hobby or a business, how to prove it to yourself, your loved ones, and also the IRS. These are just a few tips I'm sharing today, all with the disclaimer, I am not your tax attorney. I am not your accountant. These are just some lessons that I've learned and a couple of references so you can go through and make the right decision for you. Okay? Let's get going. Get that in your purse. Speak the lingo. Today on Speak the Lingo, we're talking about technical skills. A lot of times you hear that, what do you do when thinking starting a business? You don't have the technical skills. What people are saying is you have not gone to college for this. And that's kind of a weird approach. Some of the best business owners and most successful don't have all the technical skills. They see what they're offering as a regular person, one of their clients, and they're able to express that and hire people with the right technical skills. So first, let's define it. Technical skills are job skills, are the talents, the abilities, and expertise acquired to perform a specific responsibility. Let's say you're working in the airline industry. Well, your technical skills could be completely varied. You could be trained to be the pilot of the plane. You could have the technical skills to actually book and schedule and make adjustments within the database system. Your technical skills could actually be running the software, creating the entire database that the airline uses. There's a lot of different specialities that you need in that organization to make it run smoothly. So, technical skills are usually learned through study and practice. And your resume, when people are filling out resumes for a job, are full of those very specific technical skills. So when you're talking about your taxes, or when you're talking about legal situations, or when you're talking about making sure things are in governance with the law, I'm just renewing my business license and doing a couple things there. And so I've had to ask the right questions. I want to make sure I'm talking to someone that has the technical skills that can answer the question. Don't ever let your technical skills hold you back. This is so important. You can always learn the technical skills. There are so many things that make you successful in business that are not the technical skills. You can look on Google or YouTube on how to run a beautiful website, how to create a spreadsheet of your profit and loss, how to go through and actually create a business plan of what you want to do, or you can just get started and do some steps involved. All the technical skills can be learned. What you're going to find out is you get to a point where you can't learn every single technical skill. One of the things that Henry Ford loved to show is, sure, he didn't have the ability to create the engine. He did not have the ability to make the tire rotate better or fix the traction or the different things on it, the different components of the very first vehicles. All he had to do was take his phone line and talk to the person in charge of that component. And as a very smart business person, you're going to hire people. Now, this could be in 2 weeks. This could be in 2 years. This could be in 10 years. With those technical skills that you don't have, so that you can focus on the stuff that you need to handle, only you can handle, as the business owner and business creator. So as you're going through getting all the components of your business in order, just remember you want to look for people with excellent technical skills, or be willing to teach them the technical skills they need to learn to be able to do the job responsibility.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Habits of excellence. Today's habit of excellence is make a decision. Sure, that seems like a really simple thing to say and super easy to just follow through. I've just noticed that a lot of times when people get in really trouble and things are confusing and there's just not the clarity that they're looking for, it's because someone has not actually made the decision and then communicated the decision to them. So someone asks you for this cool opportunity and you could do this and you could do that. And you say, I'll think about it. Well, in that wishy-washy state, you are really putting a lot of things on hold. You can really hold things back for yourself, for your relationship with the other person, and for your life in general. So if someone is offering and they're selling something and you say, wow, that's really cool, but I don't know. I don't think right now. Well, what you're saying is, I like it. I don't have the money, or this is not the right time. Well, that person is going to be coming back over and over and over again. And you're going to have to say no and try to be nice and do it again in another month or 6 months, whatever the situation may be. So the easiest way is to say, you know what, this is a lovely product. This is not for me. That's easy with the sales. But what about your time? Going through organizing and purging activities that I really love doing that were holding me back from focusing on what I need to do and how I can build my business was one of the toughest parts of getting my life streamlined and organized so I'm able to focus on the one goal that I have. And now that I have been able to do that, I can see how by not making a decision, I put a lot of other people on a state of, I'm not sure where we are. I don't know. Well, we could try this. Maybe this will work. Maybe that'll work. And that lack of clarity in your own life affects every other thing that's going on. And so the habit of excellence, if there's a couple of things that just seem like, we haven't figured that out, it's just not clear, then make that decision. Sit down, write down those 4 or 5 things today that you really need to get organized, that you really need to go through and figure out, do I have time for this? One of the things that stood out to me when I was going through this process is I would write it down. You know what? It's only a couple hours a week. I'm sure I can help with that organization. What I did not take into account is that it takes me 45 minutes to get to this couple of hour a week responsibility. I also had to find childcare 3 days in advance, make sure I had everything organized and things were taken care of at home so I could give all of my attention there. I also had to make sure it was on a night where I could make all of these other arrangements happen so that my daughter wasn't missing her fun activities that she has going on in the week. I was able to give my 100% attention. And so it was a really tough decision, but closing the door on one chapter has just given me freedom to do so many more options. And so looking at that, write down those 4 or 5 things you need to make a decision about, then write how many hours a week that decision, that commitment that you're just not sure about, how long that will take you. And then along with that, next to it, write, what else do I have to do to make sure I can make this commitment work? Is your commitment on Thursday night and that's the night you are ready to watch Scandal? Hey, I'm not mad at you. I get it. That's the night I fold laundry so I can watch my one show and enjoy it. And my family just knows, don't bother mom. Let her do her thing. So figure out what's going to work for you. Get things in order. Make sure that you're valuing your time and the time of those other people involved. Make a decision. That's this week's Habit of Excellence. All right, today's main focus is to determine if you've got a business or a hobby, especially as women, especially as us involved in so many different aspects of life. We have very many entrepreneurial ideas. We have these concepts pop into our mind and you think, I wonder how this could work. Or a lot of times, especially with us as women, I don't know why we do this. We push it to the side. We think, man, that could be a business idea. Oh, who has the time? When we talk ourselves out of it before we ever give it a chance. And here's a few ways, just really quick, easy ways to determine if what you're thinking of is a concept that is a really cool hobby and an escape, an outlet for you from regular life, or if this really is a business model that you could invest in and really make productive and earned. So before we jump into that, I got to tell you, it's tax season. I'm preparing all the documents, going through all of that. And last year was probably the most frustrating tax situations I'd ever been in. Now, I've been blogging and podcasting and reaching out to an audience over and over and over. What I've noticed now that I've really invested the time and looked at it is I was sharing so much with an audience, but I was never asking for a sale. I was never offering something that would help the listener, the reader, the people that I'm connecting with improve their own lives. So it was almost like I was half doing the job, right? And so because of that, I'd spent a good year invested in this and had invested the time, first of all, but second of all, we'd invested some money in this making sure the hosting is all caught up, making sure the website is how it looks. And when I'm going through and I'm making the graphics and the designs, I want everything to match. And so sometimes I'll spend $1 here for a picture, $1 here. Well, you don't think about it. You do that every single day for a year, and those costs can quickly add up. And the guy we went to do our taxes was not very good at the technical skills, but really struggled with the interpersonal people skills. And it was just one of these, you sit down with someone and they run everything through and ask the right questions and sort of a thing. And the way he spoke about, I don't know why you're doing this. You're wasting so much time. This is ridiculous. This is a fine little hobby for you, but you really shouldn't call this a business. You really shouldn't do any of this. And it was so demeaning. And my husband watched the whole conversation, and afterwards he told me, Amy, he wasn't coming at you. He was saying, if you want to do this, go ahead and do it, but don't ever try to prove to the IRS that this is something worthwhile. And it was so demeaning. I was so angry. And for a couple of weeks after that, I was like, what is this about? Where does this come from? Who does this guy think he is? He has no idea how much I've invested in this. And I think I had to go through that experience to get to the point where I see, oh, I'm not doing this right. Being really nice, serving my community, helping others, that's really a good component. But if I don't have a way to get paid and to earn on what I'm doing, then this isn't the right choice. And so that's the first thing I want to say is you need to start with your intent. In every business class, I don't know how I missed this while I was doing this in my own pursuits. The number one rule in business is to make a profit so you can stay in business. Otherwise, think of your own hometown, how many little restaurants pop up and they're amazing food, but nobody ever goes. Nobody ever hears about it. They don't have any promotion. They don't invite people. They don't do anything to pull in more of an audience and build this amazing, delicious, unbelievable food. And this restaurant, this family that's invested all their time, that very, very quickly can go out of business. So number one, you have to start with your intent, your plan of how you plan to remain in business. And if you can't come up with something like that, with some sort of service that you'll offer, some sort of product that you can offer, then perhaps this is a hobby. And perhaps this is a hobby you do for a good 6 months and then you reevaluate. Maybe it's, especially if it's at home and you love knitting and you love working with your hands, after a long day, you come home and you just love to do something with your hands while you're watching TV and just relaxing, then that could be an excellent outlet. That doesn't mean that there's a business model there. You've got to be able to figure out how you can actually sell something and be able to sell again and sell again to have income coming in. So that's the very first way. Second of all, think of your market. Think of the people who are going to buy your products. So if it is, in our last episodes, we talked about that can opener tool. What if that the kitchen crowd, the foodies, the chefs, the home chefs, you think of that audience, what can you do to serve them with that same product, that can opener, that really cool tool? Then what could you offer with that? Could you offer a few of your own home recipes? Is that something that you could do because you're taking one component of the business and you're branching out into a different component of the business? It's about how you serve the audience. Then finally, the third way that's very important is you need to be able to answer 9 questions to the IRS, and that's here in the States, to prove that you have a business. And I found the criteria specifically on the small business site from the government, and I've put that in the show notes. But then I found one of my favorite sites, thesimpledollar.com, has, from this perspective, what you're looking at and what it is, the questions you specifically need to answer. So number 1, here's the 9 criteria. Number 1 is the manner in which the taxpayer carried on the activity. The question you would ask yourself is, are you keeping accurate books and using them to improve performance? That means that you may not make money this first year in business, but if you've got an actual accounting of this and you're ready for next year to set you up, then the IRS will look at that and say, oh, okay, so we see with the projections, you will have a profit next year. The next one is the expertise of the taxpayer or his or her advisors. So are you seeking professional guidance to improve your business practices? If you're not, you're just doing this at home, you really might have a hobby. So the example they use on this site is a person who restores classic cars and sells them for profit. So some could consider that, oh, that's a business for sure. Or it could be someone who restores 1 or 2 cars a year, and it could be a business. And so it just depends on if you're a hobbyist or how you're doing that, right? The third question, the time and effort expended by the taxpayer in carrying on the activity. The question you'd ask yourself is, are you investing enough time to make the business successful? Well, if you're restoring classic cars and you only do 1 or 2 a year, you might not be putting enough time in to actually make it productive and successful over time. The next question, number 4, is the expectation that the assets used in the activity may appreciate in value. Ask yourself, are you planning to generate a profit from the appreciation of the assets? So with the classic cars, if they are appreciating in value, then there is some purpose there. If it's a can opener and it's not going to appreciate, then that's not a good example of that. Number 5, the success of the taxpayer in carrying on other similar or dissimilar activities. I know, how vague can that sound, right? The question you'd ask yourself is, have you gone from being unprofitable to profitable in similar activities? If you have had a business like this business that was really successful before, so there's something there. Question 6, the taxpayer's history of income or loss with respect to the activity. The really big component is the question to ask yourself, have you been profitable in at least 3 of the past 5 years for most businesses? And that's why a lot of small businesses fail. They have not figured out how to be productive, have a profit year over year. And those first 3 years are so critical to make it successful. Number 8, the financial status of the taxpayer. The question to ask yourself is, do you have other sources of income that are being offset by the activity? That's a big one. If your knitting business is supporting other aspects of your life, then yes, that's a business. If you've got a shop on Etsy and you haven't sold anything in the last 6 years, then it's probably just a really wonderful hobby. And finally, the last component of this criteria to ask yourself is the elements of personal pleasure or recreation. Ask yourself, does the activity have significant personal elements? So is this something you do just because you enjoy it? That indicates you've got a hobby. My uncle, he is unbelievably talented with woodworking, and he takes the time and he mixes these light-toned, beautiful woods with these really dark woods and gets this almost checkered style. His work is just unbelievable. And so we have some pieces around our home that he's created. And a lot of his friends and colleagues, family members have told him, man, you could really make a business of this. You have a beautiful eye. Everything is so finished and it's really a fine product. And I have heard him say repeatedly, you know what? I don't want to. That's not what I'm looking for. This is a creative outlet. This is something for me. And I really love that. He puts a lot of time and energy in it. You can see that he has thought through the process and is creating these pieces of art. And we have a small, I would call it a mini grandfather clock that you can put on the mantle, and it has the swinging gold piece underneath. And it's so beautiful. I love it. And it's such a gift of love that it's just something that we will treasure for always. And so I say that to say this. It's okay if what you want to do is just simply a hobby. I love doing brush lettering. I'm not very good at it, and very few people see what I write, but it just makes me happy to sit down and practice letters, figure out the strokes, how things flow smoothly, and create something that just looks appealing to my eye and says something that warms my soul. But I never, ever would want to make a business out of that. Okay, if this is what you want to do, to take your hobby to a business, it's important to figure out a way to have an income from this. You've got to be creating profit to help you keep moving forward with your business and the rest of your life. And that, my friends, is how you determine if you have a business or a hobby. Wow, we covered a lot today. I know that as you're going through and figuring out all of these different decisions, making that determination, if this is just something that's a wonderful pastime that you love, or if you're really going to go for it and create a business and make sure that you can tell not only yourself, not only family members, and not only that judgmental lady that is always trying to get up in your business, we all have those, but even to prove to the IRS that you have a legitimate business, these components are really important. That's why we're going through this. Hey, I hope you have a great week. Thank you so much for listening. If there's any way I can help you enrich your business and your life, I want to know. Let's talk soon.